The Enermax Equilence is another in a growing line of cases based on the same OEM that brought us the Rosewool Cullinan. Does it do enough to differentiate itself in a crowded field? The first thing you notice about the Equilence is the tinted tempered glass left side window and correspondingly glossy acrylic front panel. This has become a fairly standard look over the past 2 years, even if that front panel is more reflective than most and features an almost mirror finish. Duplicated on both sides is this airflow grille that's about an inch wide. Although the air being pushed by the fans having to make a sharp 90-degree turn isn't ideal, there's enough of a gap here that your cooling setup shouldn't be outright choked off, and thermal performance is about average. Some problems do arise, however, when we pull off the panel and discover that the front I/O wiring keeps it tethered to the main chassis unless you want to pull all these cables all the way through the case and out the front, which is sometimes impossible to do once you have things zip tied in place. Additionally, although these really sweet TB RGB fans don't come with the Equilence, I wanted to see how they look shining through that front acrylic. Well, it turns out that they don't shine through at all, as it's completely opaque. A strange choice given the presentation opportunity and the lack of mesh. There's a nice I/O selection up top, including 4 USB ports and a fan control button along with power and reset switches. This is a $109 case, however, so I'll continue to say that I think cases in this price range and above should be including USB-C at this point. The design of the case top is also a little puzzling. I understand that this is marketed as a silent case, so the inclusion of a magnetically attached cover with sound dampening foam is certainly reasonable. However, this is going to completely seal off the upper chamber. If you remove it to allow your fans to breathe, there's no filtering at all. And we see that the fan setup is not offset from the motherboard tray area, meaning that radiators will almost certainly interfere with memory modules or tall VRM heatsinks. The right side panel has your standard matte black steel look, but I do like the mounting mechanism Enermax has come up with. 2 large thumb screws at the top detach and then the panel lifts off vertically. This is thanks to a small lip attached to the bottom of the panel that allows it to slide into and rest on the bottom rail of the chassis and eliminates the need for additional screws. The panel itself continues to focus on silence with more acoustic foam lining. Once we get that panel removed, we could see the cable management and storage options around back. There's not a whole lot of newness to talk about here, but it's definitely nice that Enermax has punched out 13 cable tie-down points along common routing lanes. The hard drive cage at the bottom underneath the shroud holds 2 plastic sleds that are of questionable structural integrity, but should get the job done. They'll hold either 2.5 or 3.5-inch drives. You also get 2 additional mounting locations for SSDs on these metal sleds that are held in place by thumb screws. Scanning down to the power supply area, Enermax lists compatibility as standard ATX, but just be cautious about using extra long units as there might be interference from the cage. Cable routing depth is about 3/4 of an inch at the back of the case where you might run your EPS, but does expand out to a solid 1.5 inches towards the front. Now, there's a dust filter for the PSU, which we like, but the way it's installed combined with the placement of the case feet makes it virtually impossible to remove, and don't even try to do this with only one hand. This isn't something you'll be doing all the time, so your frustrations may be limited, but it's almost like their engineers didn't even consider that people might actually want to take this out to clean it. The case feet themselves are plastic but sturdy and span the full width of the case. With the dust filter interference notwithstanding, this is a good design that doesn't limit airflow and provides a good inch of clearance to the floor. Turning our attention to the main chamber, we see an open design with pre-installed motherboard standoffs and support for up to a 420mm graphics card, as long as you aren't utilizing a front radiator. That open design, however, carries over to the main cable pass-through point, as we see that there are no grommeted openings here. Additionally, I really dislike this trend of leaving giant holes where you're supposed to be hiding cables, as all your mess becomes instantly visible. The front of the case can support up to a 360mm radiator and is aided by this sizable cutout in the shroud so that you can do push-pull if you so desire. The Equilence comes equipped with 3 fans out of the box, but they aren't all the same. The one mounted to the rear wall as exhaust is 140mm and is designed for maximum airflow. The front 2 fans are smaller, only 120mm, and the blades appear to be more geared for static pressure. They also don't all have the same connectors, as the rear fan sports a Molex plug, while the fronts only have standard 3 pins. The power supply shroud is well designed, but is functionally the same as those that come with the Cullinan and Anides AI crystal cases. It has a non-grommeted opening for your PCIe cables and 2 cutouts towards the rear for front panel wiring that do get the grommet treatment. There are also covered cable pass-through points along the top to help neaten things up. Overall, this might be my least favorite flavor of this chassis. The Mean at 5 PM and Rosewell Cullinan MX both do things significantly better than the Equilence and offer more customized pieces with cleaner aesthetics and less frustrating design choices. This one is definitely the quietest, but overall, it's probably not the best. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.